Cool. And we're live.
Hey.
Hey. Welcome. It's umbraCoffee episode 94. It's Friday, and I'm joined by the amazing Kevin Jump. Hey, Kevin.
Hello.
Hey, how are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad.
You've had a busy couple of weeks. Last week you were down in London for the London meetup.
Yeah, only just recovering.
Yeah, me too. And you had a pretty big launch on Monday, didn't you?
I did, yes. I decided against Fridays because
Friday launch.
I miss Umbraco Project, obviously, but
of course.
Yeah,
but at least we've got you on this time, and you've not launched something just after we go out like you normally do.
I might do that later.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
You've had a busy week. Maybe we can talk a bit about that. So you've been working for a little while on this uSync Complete edition, haven't you?
Yes. So when 8 came out, we obviously thought it needed to redo uSync, and there's some fundamental changes. So basically, we used it as an opportunity. I say as an opportunity to basically clean it all up, make it a bit streamlined, because uSync's been going for years now. I think it's 8 or 9 years. And so it's got loads of little things in it. So we tidied it up, but then that gave us the opportunity to add stuff to it that we always thought would be good to add. So uSync Complete is loads of little extra things that sit on top of what uSync does and loads of people use.
Yeah, I remember last week at the meetup you were saying that you had your daughter was playing The Sims.
Oh, yes.
You idea of having expansion packs.
Yeah. So I don't know if you play The Sims, basically you get The Sims, and then there's tons of expansion packs that add on things like dogs and living in flats and all of that exciting stuff. But I was looking at it, and they're just tons of little teeny things that you add on, and then they build into this game. And part of it, let's be honest, it's unbelievable. If you buy all of the packs, I think it's £500. There's so many of these little expansion packs. So the idea with uSync Complete originally was these little expansion packs that you could just bolt onto uSync to do little extra things, and so there's like 4 or 5 of them we've written, but in doing so we thought now it's probably just better if we stick them all together into one thing, and that's Complete. So it's everything that you get from uSync. So you get the normal uSync and content edition, and then all these extra little fancy things on top of it, which make it
nice. And so one of these little extra bits is Snapshots, isn't it? Which did exist for V7 in some form.
It did. So Snapshots sort of existed as it does now in 7, and what it lets you do is sort of capture a point in time of how the site works. So you just run a snapshot, and then it's as your site is now, and then you do some changes, you run another snapshot, and it says, here's the differences between the two.
Nice.
And you can export them and do clever stuff with them. And we did have that for 7, and some people used it sort of as a keeping track of what's changed on their site thing. But so we've done snapshots, and then we've done a thing called exporter, which it's sort of like the import-export that you get in Umbraco, but on steroids. So you can export document types, but it'll pack up all the dependencies, so all the data types that you need for that document type. Or you can say a piece of content, and it'll get the document types and the templates and the data types and stick them all together.
Everything in a nice zip.
In a zip file that we've called a sync pack, which is just a nice way of saying a zip file. And then you can move it across, and it unzips it and puts it onto your site. So you don't need to actually physically be copying uSync folders around. If that's not how you work, you can just copy folders across. And get a nice, easy way to do it.
Yeah, and I remember again last week, you said how uSync kind of started as a way of just version controlling.
Yeah, we built it actually
in source control.
Yeah, I think it was Pete Duncanson. It might not have been, but who did the talk about what was it called? The code one. One that made code years and years ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've forgotten it. uSync, site builder, sync builder, uSite builder, which was all code first, and it was a great talk. He did it at one of the very first London UK festivals. But one of the things he said halfway through is if you touch your code, if you touch the site back end when this is on, it all blows up.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's almost right, but not quite. So that's when we went off and we built uSync. Based on, let's just do source control and not try and do the code bit, because everyone's trying to do code first. So we just built the source control bit, and it worked really well. And then over time, that's become something that fits well into the way deployments have turned out, and Azure DevOps and stuff like that. It just works really well because it puts everything onto disk and you can just move it across. So lots and lots of people are now using it for deployments.
Yeah, me too. I use it to push very simple up to huge changes to content structure and everything really up sites, which is hugely powerful.
Yeah, I mean, I use it a lot, obviously, myself. I find actually the content bit's nice, but doesn't really fit into most people's workflow. It's good for seeding a website with the content, but you don't necessarily want your content in a deployment the same way. You sort of want your content to be controlled by your editors. So that's one of the things we've added to Complete. So.
Yeah, and amongst many other things. So it's got the people edition, so users and membership.
Yeah, so you can export all your users and your members and all the groups now, and it'll sync them across between Umbracos if you're doing content. It even does the passwords. If you keep the machine keys and stuff in sync, it will pass the hashes across, so you can sync them as well.
That's really nice. So effectively, you've built a complete suite of tools to deploy almost anything. Microsite.
Yeah, the only thing we don't currently do, and in theory we can, but I think it's the potential for blowing people's sites up's huge, is it doesn't do packages. So DLLs. Essentially, the code's there and it could actually copy the DLLs, but it's all when you copy the DLL, the site falls over and comes back up, and it seems a bit risky. So we're thinking about that, whether or not that even goes in.
So this is if you were to push a document type that had a property editor on it that was a package, that would not work because
that wouldn't. So you do need to copy the bin folders, need to be in sync essentially, and your app plugins. But in theory, you can do it, but I think it would blow up if you tried it. So we've sort of not configured it that way. But yeah, that's the only thing it doesn't do at the moment. Everything else, it will sync across 2 sites or more.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen this in action.
Yeah.
Everything we've spoken about sounds really cool, but maybe we could have a little look at it.
Yeah, sure. Oh, there you go. Oh, I've pressed the right buttons. Share screen. Yeah. Okay.
Amazing.
Can you see?
Yes.
First question you always ask. Yes. So, I suppose I'll go through the basics of the uSync stuff on this site, and then we'll go into the others. So when you install uSync on 8 now, we've got a little menu down the side because it's more than just uSync. So the standard uSync is the thing that people see where you can report what's changed. And you see what's changed, and you do imports, and it imports things and standard stuff like that. But when you install uSync Complete, you get extra little buttons.
Ooh.
So these are the first ones. So this is Exporter. So what Exporter lets you do is pick things you want to export as sort of just pack. So you can say, for example, if you've got like a blog, say them 2 you wanted to export, you put them into a sync pack, and you can say, I want the dependencies, which are the data types and stuff like that. If they're in a tree, you can include the ancestors, and then what that does is create a sync pack, which hopefully on this machine, I can just sort of quickly open up and show you. It's just a zip file in this case with just the data types that you need for that thing, and just the content type. You can see that the blog is a composition, so it's included the compositions that you need as well. So
nice.
Then you can pull that across to another server, and you would go to import the sync pack. You'd choose it from your downloads. It doesn't really matter because I'm not going to import it. And then that uploads that now, and then it gives you a report and tells you essentially what's in here. And you can see there's not much in this, but a couple of things. So
a few updates.
You can see that these values have changed.
Ooh. Is this preview new as well?
Yeah, this is in uSync. So it's actually all using uSync. So if you go to, you do a normal uSync report, and I don't think there's currently anything on this because it's got a couple of things I've been messing about with. They do fire out. There are a couple of occasions when you get blank reports like this. In this case, it's because I've commented out something in the uSync file, which you normally wouldn't do.
Okay.
So, and it will say, this has changed and that's changed, so you can see what's changed.
That's really cool.
And that's normal uSync. And all the exporters really doing is wrapping that up a bit and then giving you a different version. And so similar with people gives you, you can see it looks very similar, and at the end you get, here's your users exported. So on this site there's only one account anyway, so It's exported one account, and then you could import the users. And again, this is coming from disk. You can even force the import, and it'll do the changes. And you can see it never syncs the admin one again, because we don't want to break people's sites, but it'll sync all the other accounts.
Yeah.
And again, it's just the same bits of uSync sort of all stuck together. So when you look at snapshots, which we talked about before, what this does is exactly the same. So if I was to change, and on this, unlike the demo in London, I'll remember to save it. New blog. So if we just change something simple on this site, like a description, and then you make changes, and you come to a snapshot, you could create a new snapshot called like blog updates, and this will, you can see this is very uSync. It's just going off and creating it, and at the end you've got a new snapshot called blog updates, which has just got one thing in, which is the thing I've just done.
You've just changed.
Yeah, and so you can choose to say, oh, if you're very sure of what you're doing, you can just download that individual snapshot, a bit like a sync pack, but you know it's the one change, and you can then move that across using snapshots and push it in. Or you can download the whole lot, which sort of combines them all together, and then bring that across to another site, import a snapshot, and again, you get all of the changes between the two sites. So it's slightly different than Exporter, because in Exporter, you go in and say, I want a new doc type and I want a new bit of content. Whereas in Snapshots, you just say, tell me everything that's changed on my site, and it gives you a link of the differences between the two. And it also does, very simply, views CSS script files as well. So if you change a template or a script, they will also get included in a snapshot and then put across. So it's not just the Umbraco bit, it's hopefully everything. And again, in theory, you could put bin there and then see what happens when you import it.
Wow.
It would have a go, but it might blow up.
That is incredible. And this seems so powerful and pretty similar, I guess, to Umbraco Deploy in terms of.
Yeah, I would say so, but I've never really personally used Deploy, so I'm not 100% sure. All I've ever done is used a lot of uSync. I've obviously used Carole, but never really in the Deploy way, sort of in a one-site mess about way. So I don't know is the short answer, but snapshots and stuff is sort of where we've gone with uSync as opposed to.
But effectively,
and
the
I
idea
know of crossover, but
yeah. But the idea of finding the differences, creating a package that you could then push to an environment is the same. And it's, as you said, people are familiar with uSync, so you've got all of that uSync goodness, the UI, everything we're all used to. So
and hopefully with the uSync 8, and I know you've used it quite a bit, is and a lot of it's down to Umbraco being tidier as well. And with 8, there's an awful lot tidied up. It's a lot, I think, more robust in terms of tracking those changes and keeping a lid on what's changing. So with old versions of Umbraco, we were doing an awful lot more manipulation to try and make sure data stayed in sync. And while we still do a little bit of that, as Umbraco evolves, uSync gets more solid as well because the base is less changeable. So that's quite good.
Nice. And then you also have this idea of a publisher.
We do. We've left publisher to the end, but yes. So the way publisher works, and I suppose sort of show you straight from content really, is the idea between publisher is that you can, as an editor or as a dev, you can go to a bit of your site and you can publish it from one Umbraco install to another. So when you go to a bit of content, you go get this publish to, and we've got pull as well, but we've got publish to. And depending on how it's configured, you can see servers that you want to publish this bit of content to. So in this sense, I've got multicolored Umbracos now, so they've all logged out. That one is my development one, so it's nice and orange. So that's my development server. And then I have a live server, which is green. I don't have the super dark mode one in this demo. And so what you can do, so say if we wanted to publish these pages to development, you say I want to go to development, and then you get some options. And these are all configurable, so you can choose what your editor sees. So here we can say we want to include the children. We want to delete any pages in that folder that are not on the target site. We want to include any media. We don't, just in this case, include the parent. So that would include the home node in this example.
Yeah.
Dependency, so doc types, everything like that. Template files. So we can say we're going to include everything. In this sample, the two sites are completely independent, so they're not deployed or anything in this example, because I think it shows the power that I've got two completely separately installed Umbraco sites.
Yeah.
And what we're doing here is we're sending from one to the other. And in this case, they're perfectly in sync anyway, so nothing's changed. But if we were to go in here and create ourselves a new bit of content, I'm going to do space pictures again because I like space pictures. What we could do is we could say this is like a totally new page, and we will go in and we will add some pictures to the page. Pictures. Then we'll do. And so then you might pick that one for that, and then we'll pick that one. And let's have the ticker tape one's quite nice. So we've obviously done that, and that's now on this my local host machine, my local developer machine. But if I wanted to publish that, I can go in here and say I want to publish that to the development server. And so it goes off and sends them, and immediately comes back and says, I'm going to create these 4 media items, and I'm going to create a new page. So you can see what's going to change. You do publish.
So it's only sending the stuff that it absolutely needs. So in this case, only the media that's being used in that piece of content that you're publishing.
Yeah. So if we go in here, and we'll probably have to refresh, you can see we've now got our spaces folder with those 3 items in. And then here we've got the piece of content.
That is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, so you can see
it's so slick.
Yeah. And so equally, you can do other things the other way around. So if this is, say, your development server, and or your live server, and it's got way more pictures on, so someone there has uploaded different pictures onto that server, and you want to pull them back, you can go onto your local machine, and in the media folder, you can do the same with media. You can push media, or you can pull media. So we can say from development, we'll pull the media. And you see we're going to get all the media we get. There you go. So now, hopefully, there you go. The extra media's come back.
Wow. So this is the culmination of all of these bits inside uSync Complete working together. So you're creating a snapshot in the background of what's changed.
It's not quite that. What actually is happening is it's creating a report, and then it sends the report over to the other server, and the other server runs. So it creates an export. So the other server runs a report, works out what it wants, and then it tells your server, says, what media do you need? And it says, I only need these 3 pieces of media, and it sends it over, and then it says, okay, now run an import. And essentially it's a uSync import happening on the other server. Yeah. But only the bits that have been needed have been sent. So it just runs that import there and then, and it sends it back. And so yes, it's sort of all stuck together like that.
That is incredible.
And so, I mean, just quickly, there's quite a lot of power, hopefully, behind the configuration of this. So this is when you're configuring it, which you can do in config. You get a lot of whether this server's enabled or whether you can send from it, what groups can. And then there's a lot of groups. So you can see here are my 3 servers. So the development server, you can see I've got these settings. So it says here that these are what's on and what the user can set. So obviously, when we just done that, you saw that you could turn all of those tick boxes on and off, and you could do include dependencies. But what you might do, and I think I've got it with stage, is that the user can turn off include children or media, but what they can't do is any of these.
Yeah,
but they might be on, so you might say, oh, always include dependencies, even though the user can't see them.
Can't set them.
Yeah, so there's that. And the other thing I added, actually, since you saw the last demo, is now whether or not it's show for push and pull. So you might not have noticed really, but when we pushed media, say, you can push it from development to stage. So your local developer, you probably would only let them push to the development server. But what you certainly wouldn't let them do is push to live. But what you might do is say you can pull the live media.
Ooh, that's incredibly powerful.
So, I mean, the configuration there is pretty much what you want. And you can even pick your own little colors and icons. That's just obviously
amazing. It's so cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, okay, the $1 million question, I'm hoping it's not. How much does all of this cost?
Oh, it's amazing. So the first bit is free still, but that's always been free. So uSync is free, and uSync and uSync Content Edition have always been free. So we've not charged for them, and I don't think we're never going to, because they're just the bits that everybody uses. But everything else in Complete, as a package, if you install it, is one cost, and that's £900 at the moment.
Which, in my opinion, is an absolute bargain.
Yeah.
So you're getting People Edition, Exporter, Snapshots, Publisher, and this new thing called Audit.
You get an audit when I write it, yes. So audit.
You got to steal enough first.
Yeah, I experimented with audit, and it was sort of the audit basically does what's missing from content. So when you do content, you can see what's changed and who's edited. It's the same thing, but it just uses uSync for settings. So if you change like a description of a blog post, it will work out using a uSync file that's already there and one generated from the save. It'll say, oh, the description's changed. And at that point, it fires it into a logger. And we're going to have 3 as the default at the beginning. So there's a text file. So it'll just say, Kevin changed the description of the doc type blog to this, from this to this. We'll have one that goes into a database and gives you a nice little dashboard and Umbraco. And then one which we wrote when we were experimenting with 7, which does work, is it'll fire it off to Slack. So it'll just say, Fred's just changed the blog here.
Wow.
And so you can see what's changed. It's more just to keep track if people are changing stuff on servers that might be like live servers or stuff. So,
yeah. Well, that's incredible. And like I said, £900 I think is an absolute bargain considering the amount of work that's gone into this, and especially that you don't just do this for fun. This is actually your job.
Yeah, we
work full time on this.
Yeah. I mean, full-time in other stuff, obviously, because Translation Manager is the other big package that we do. So we took the decision 2 years ago now to sort of take some time out from just general site development and concentrate on building that package, because we worked out it wasn't something. The level of support for normal uSync is quite high, or has been historically. And you knew if we do something like Translation Manager, it's going to be about the same again, because they're very similar in the way they work. We couldn't justify that as a part-time hobby. So that's when we built Translation Manager and said, we'll actually concentrate on it. If you're going to do something that big that people are going to rely on, you need to put some effort in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fundamentally what uSync is as well. So uSync's the second one now. So Translation Manager is 2. About 2 days ago, it was 2. So yeah, it's been working really well. And this is the other one.
Happy birthday.
Yes, happy birthday, Translation Manager. We sort of said we're going to sneak the present. That was its birthday present. But,
amazing. Yeah. Wow. So yeah, like if people want to use this, it's available to buy now, and we'll put the link in the description for anyone that wants to start using it. I think it's a really nice segue maybe onto a slightly different topic, which is a similar discussion around kind of premium packages or premium support for packages.
Yeah.
Which was a blog post written by Stefan this week.
Yeah.
About how he's doing a bit of an experiment. He's left HQ now, and so he's going back into the world of .NET and being a freelancer or a consultant, and he's available to hire if you want to. We'll link to his details in the description. But specifically how the open source stuff he maintains, a big one being Models Builder, and how he can make that a bit more sustainable. So he's introducing I'm not even going to try and pronounce the name of his blog, but the Stefan Goodwill license, which is this idea that he's kind of stolen off Paul Henning Camp, of a moral license, saying if you're using my tools and you're probably making some money off them, selling them to your clients, saving some time, then maybe send me a bit of money. And this idea is it's to support him doing this, otherwise it's not really possible. Which is really interesting. And before we went live, you said, Kevin, that you've actually done a similar model before with uSync, which I didn't know.
Yeah, well, that's partly because of my lack of promotion. So uSync 4, which is the one for version 7, actually has a Goodwill license in it. So if you look on the tabs, it actually sort of says, please buy a Goodwill license. That'd be really nice. And then it takes you to a page that I think it's just like a PayPal donation page where you can pick a value from something like £10 up to whatever you want, really. And so we did it more as an experiment just to see what was happening. We weren't saying at the time, oh, we need the money for uSync or anything. It was just to sort of see, because people were saying, oh, it's really good, I'd like to give you some money. So we did do it as a Goodwill license, and it does tell you that it is unlicensed until you buy a Goodwill license. But to be perfectly honest, it didn't work very well. So it's probably about £200 to £300 a year that we were getting
Okay.
in goodwill licenses for uSync. So, you know, and it's I think we're currently at 400,000 new get downloads. It's not a small usage scenario on uSync, so it didn't really work. We knew for certain that it wouldn't work for complete because the amount of effort it couldn't say.
Of course, yeah.
And the general thing, and I did speak to Stefan a bit. I really wish him well and hope people do buy it because, you know, everyone who uses it, it does. You can't. You've seen before where open source projects just disappear, and it's because people can't afford to put the time into them, and people rely on them. And you're seeing it now with 8. There's quite a few packages that people are desperately calling for, but the people who wrote them have got jobs, and therefore can't justify spending the time on them.
People, if they're hobbyists, they do it for a bit of fun. I guess this is why Stefan has branded this as a bit of a life experiment. He wants to see if this can be made actually possible and to support the stuff that he loves doing. But also the fact that he's kind of stated at a certain point, if it's just not working, he'll have to accept that and move on to other things, which of course we wish him the best of luck. And anyone using Models Builder who wants to support him, well, there's we'll put the link in the description.
I think agencies, especially, if they probably have to think about how they might price that into projects. I think Warren was saying that on Twitter. Because without that, it's sort of it's down to individuals. I think it's all individuals who bought uSync goodwill licenses. I don't think people can companies justify spending money they don't have to, sort of. But if they build it into their projects, then maybe they can.
Absolutely. As I said, we wish Stefan the best of luck, and anyone that's in this position maybe to support him, please do, because Models Builder itself is a fantastic, helpful tool that I'm sure many of us use. He also commented a little bit on the future of Models Builder and how that will work. So Umbraco Core is going to continue having a slightly reduced version of Models Builder in the core, and Stefan will continue supporting the more powerful super user one. But definitely still a use case for it. So yeah, go support Stefan, and we wish him the best of luck. Okay, let's move on to some other news. So just to wrap up. So this week I'm in Sweden. I'm not at home. I'm here for the Sweden Festival. It was really good, and been some fantastic talks. I'll just share a couple of pictures and the like shared on Twitter. There is one of me doing a talk somewhere, but they've got some business talks and some more technical talks, and good fun. I'm in Örebro. There's a nice big castle, a nice hotel. It's in the middle of absolute nowhere, but it's really good to be back involved with the Swedish community again. It's my second year here. Speaking of festivals, and Kevin, the Umbraco UK Fest, we actually announced this last week, but I think it wasn't posted. The schedule is up, and Kevin, you are on the agenda.
I am in the coveted after lunch spot. I get to wake everybody up.
I mean, you will, but still subject to change. They might all still move around, but So the full lineup is announced with all of the speakers on there, and that's going to be a pretty good time. And also, speaking of festivals, the Umbraco US Festival in Chicago, they have teased a date for 2020. It's in April, but we don't know when and where. So that could be fun.
I tried to see if I could go. I don't think I'm going to be allowed.
Oh no, need to get permission. Similarly, speaking of the US community, Marc Drake tweeted this kind of really slim line editor, which I like a lot. Nice. I think it's using the Medium editor open source library, but looks really good. And I think it's on his GitHub, which we'll share a link to in the description. And then the final bits of community news this week was this community roundtable discussion is going to be happening with HQ. So this was they're getting some people from the community, including myself, but Pete, Carole, Laura, Jeffrey, Adam, Marc, Ilham, Kim, Jacob, and Niels from HQ will be there to just discuss some broad questions about how we can improve Umbraco as a product, improve communication between the community and HQ. It's the start of a new initiative.
I mean, is there any agenda, or is it sort of just free flowing and seeing?
I think it's pretty free flowing. So there's a moderator. We have all the participants will get an equal share of time, and it's kind of a safe space to say what you want. And I think the outcome is whatever comes out of it. And if there's a need for another one, then there's going to be another one. I think that's the idea. And they intend to do these on a more regular basis, I believe. So that's really interesting. A big development is happening in a couple of weeks' time in October.
Well, I think that's part of Niels's new role, isn't it? He's going much more community, and I think that's part of him picking that up.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. Yeah. Well, that's kind of it for the news this week. Did you have I missed anything?
No, I don't think so.
No? I mean, I guess the big news is this uSync complete, and it looks freaking awesome. It's all right. I need to have a proper play with it. But as I said last week, my jaw was truly on the floor after seeing you demo it in London. It's a truly phenomenal piece of work. So big high five, you rock, to Kevin.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's it. Marcin is back next week. We'll resume normal programming and whatever. I guess all that's left to say is have a lovely weekend to everyone, and thank you very much, Kevin, for joining us. Amazing demo. We'll see you all next Friday.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.